Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Finance Minister says the People's Partnership intends to eventually change the budget deficit trend. $9.1 and $5.1 billion have been allocated to the education and health sectors, respectively, in the $58.4 billion 2012-2013 budget. And government's $58 billion fiscal package is getting high reviews. Thank you for joining us. Finance Minister Senator the Honorable Larry Hawaii has presented a $58.4 billion budget to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. And while the People's Partnership came into government and met a budget deficit trend, this is something Minister Hawaii says the People's Partnership intends to eventually change.
Finance Minister Larry Hawaii has presented his maiden budget before the Parliament. Mr. Hawaii says the 2012-2013 fiscal package is based on an oil price of US $80 per barrel and a gas price of US $2.75 per metric cubic foot. With total revenue estimated at $50.736 billion and total expenditure at $58.405 billion, the budget has a $7.6 billion deficit. This is the fifth year running which the country has seen a budget deficit, something which Minister Hawaii vows to eliminate by the year 2016.
We shall pursue a proactive reform and policy agenda for transforming and creating a new Trinidad and Tobago. The well-being of our citizens is paramount to this administration. We have had 4 years of fiscal deficits, but in the main, they were aimed at buttressing economic activity for securing growth and job creation. We have succeeded. We are now at full employment levels, and our policies and programs are aimed at ensuring that our workforce can meet the demands of a growing and increasingly modernized economy. We are now in a position to return the fiscal framework to a sustainable path and in the process to resume savings for future generations. We have established a roadmap to bring our budget into balance by 2016, if not before.
Minister Hawaii emphasizes that citizens would need to work alongside the government if Trinidad and Tobago is to indeed achieve a budget surplus within the next few years.
Central to this process is our commitment to consultation with all our stakeholders. Growth will be further supported by high education standards, by an increased credit flow from our financial institutions, and generally by a commitment of our national community to hard work, discipline, and increased productivity.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
And some $9.1 and $5.1 billion have been allocated to the education and health sectors, respectively, in the $58.4 billion budget. This as the Finance Minister presented the budget in the Parliament chamber last evening.
Finance Minister Larry Hawaii is revealing plans to construct several hospitals, including one in Point Fortin, as well as a possible training facility for non-communicable diseases in the Southland. Plans are also being outlined for a possible hospital facility in Couva for both adults and children.
New hospitals in Point Fortin, Arima, Sangre Grande, and Chaguanas. The National Public Health Laboratory and the Caribbean Public Health Agency at Coro, and the upgrade of the San Fernando General Hospital. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Health will fund these projects through public-private partnerships and joint ventures. The Ministry of Health is also at an advanced stage of pursuing such arrangements for oncology, cardiac surgery, and organ transplants. Moreover, negotiations are at an advanced stage for establishing financing agreements for a hospital in Couva, which will cater for children and adults, and which would have a burns unit, a teaching hospital at Chancery Lane, San Fernando, and a national center for non-communicable diseases in Pinal.
Meanwhile, one of the key projects being highlighted by the Finance Minister is the construction of the Debe UWI campus, While commenting on the government-funded programs such as the GATE program, the minister says steps will be taken to boost institution accountability to government. The GATE program, he says, will refocus on the areas of priority study necessary to support government strategy for economic and industrial development.
This program has, however, been subjected to some abuse by users and has produced some undesirable results. During the course of the coming year, we shall implement a number of measures with the objective of eliminating waste and abuse. Tuition fees for undergraduate programs at both private and public institutions will be funded at varying rates based on their socio-economic priority. 3. The GATE clearance program will apply to all public and private tertiary education programs. And 4. More comprehensive methods on the determination of tuition fees at public and private tertiary education institutions will be instituted.
The finance minister says government will continue to focus on curricular reform, teacher training, new teaching methodologies and technology, and the provision of laptops for each pupil entering secondary school. He is highlighting government's emphasis on higher education.
We shall continue to make secondary education easily accessible. But there has to be the recognition. Higher education is, sorry, my apologies, Mr. Speaker. We shall continue to make higher education easily accessible. But there has to be the recognition that we will do so with finite resources. That we succeed in this challenge is vital to economic prosperity and social stability. Higher education.
He is also outlining plans to establish a nursing facility to alleviate the current shortage situation of nurses in the country.
In conjunction with the University of the West Indies, we'll soon launch the El Dorado Academy of Nursing and Allied Health to address the endemic shortage of nurses in the health sector. And 4th, in consultation with the THA, we shall also be establishing in Tobago an integrated campus to house various public training institutions.
Vuna Bharat, News 4.
When we come back, government's billion-dollar fiscal package gets reviews. Stay with us. Welcome back. Government's $58 billion fiscal package for the 2012-2013 period is getting high reviews. This comes as several business heads gathered at the Crown Plaza Hotel in an effort to dissect Finance Minister Larry Hawai's maiden budget presentation, as well as make recommendations.
So it'll affect you.
What I am very glad about that the disabled, that they'll a little increase, and the oil, it will be.
One day after delivering his maiden budget, Finance Minister Larry Hawaii is backing his presentation by stating the primary aim of his fiscal package as one that will stimulate the economy and steer it to the path needed. Minister Hawaii, addressing the annual post-budget panel discussion held at the Crown Plaza Hotel, says Trinidad and Tobago remains at a relatively stable position, capable of facilitating further downstreaming and lower debt.
But we have, as I say, relatively low debt to GDP. We have strong foreign exchange earnings. And I should say, in respect of the debt to GDP, that we do have a relatively low proportion of external debt. The external debt is less than 25%. Our debt servicing, external debt servicing to export earnings is about 1.2%. So in terms of the demand on our foreign exchange resources for external debt servicing, it's relatively manageable.
In his budget, the minister revealed several measures that will see an influx of investment into the local economy. It's this push for public-private sector partnership that will make the impact on economic growth Minister Hawaii is looking to achieve as he seeks to bring sustainability and competitiveness to the business realm.
Government's fiscal position is no longer where it used to be. That is, that we can fund everything. Foreign direct investment, local private sector involvement are all very important. And perhaps I better clarify, when I say private sector, In a sense, I'm saying everybody who's outside of government. So for me, whether you're in trade union or whether you're in a credit union or whoever you are, for me, you're part of private sector, and perhaps I should use a more inclusive word of saying civil society. You know, perhaps that might be a better descriptor. But nevertheless, when I say private sector, what I'm meaning is how we can engage the nation as a whole in moving forward to the achievement of the goals that we have.
But as to how these announcements will affect citizens, Minister Hawaii says government continues to recraft the process of addressing concerns of all citizens. We took to the streets to find out what some had to say on the minister's package.
Their standard is high, and although some measures might appear to be harsh in some areas, they're the ones with all the facts, and I trust them.
It's great that the VAT is off from foodstuff. That is nice.
The budget is multidimensional, is depending on where you are in the society, so it will affect you.
And what I am very glad about that the disabled, that they'll get a little increase, and the oil, I know it will be going up a little bit more, but then they will improve as time goes by.
Minister Hawaii remains optimistic that the country has strong economic buffers to support key initiatives that will ensure positive effects on the lives of citizens. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
In other news, the Ministry of Legal Affairs is taking one step towards addressing practices that just might be disadvantageous to mortgages. It's for this reason the ministry is seeking to revise the terms and conditions allowed under current legislation governing the issue of conveyancing and mortgages. Advisor to the ministry, Clyde Weatherhead, says the aim of this ministry is to ensure that the process of taking a mortgage is made easy for all parties involved.
Consultations on the Conveyancing and Mortgages Bill have commenced. It's an attempt to correct any discrepancies in the current legislation that governs lending at local financial institutions. Speaking at the public consultation on the Conveyancing and Mortgages draft policy document, advisor to the Minister of Legal Affairs, Clyde Weatherhead, says the aim of the ministry is to ensure practices are conducted in the most fair and balanced way.
What guides the Ministry of Legal Affairs in its role of having the portfolio for consumer matters is how do we assure fairness and balance. That is the whole objective.
The consultation involved attorneys spearheading legal conditions at financial institutions involved in providing mortgages to the public. Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Bernard Sylvester, says such a policy intends to ensure transparency in mortgage financing at the various banking institutions.
The policy indicates that the identity of the mortgagee and the mortgager, the amount financed, the itemization of the amount financed, the annual percentage rate, all administrative fees and charges, total number of payments, the payment schedule, and prepayment, late payment penalties shall be disclosed. There shall be full disclosure. Another important issue covered by the policy is that of the choice of attorney. The law presently allows for the attorney at law of the bank or financial institution to prepare both the deed of conveyance and the deed of mortgage.
The current law allows for the bank's attorney to prepare both the deed of conveyance and the deed of mortgage. But according to Mr. Weatherhead, the bill seeks to ensure proper clarification to both parties in what they are getting involved in, as well as provide critical terms that can offer assistance to a mortgagee who might have failed in making payments due to circumstances beyond his control.
A lot of people's experience is that conveyances are paid for, possibly based on an assessment of how much they can afford, rather than based on the non-contentious rules. In fact, as an aside, let me just mention, I have received startled looks on the faces of clients when I mention to them that I do have something called a client's account and that I am not to mingle my funds with their funds. That seems to surprise people. So that from the professional standpoint, we need as well to let our clients know what the rules are.
The consultation is said to be the first in a three-part stakeholder meeting on the draft policy document. It's expected that following the drafting of the bill, it will be enacted into law by the end of the year. Kimberly Ram Caravan, News 4.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us. Cricket takes a spotlight in our sportscast. The West Indies will face Australia in the second semi-final of the ICC World 2020 on Friday in Colombo. The Aussies secured top spot in Group 2 despite losing heavily to Pakistan in their final match on Tuesday and will face the regional team for a place in Sunday's final. Pakistan's 32-run win earned them second spot in a tight group where the placings were only finalized on the last day of Super 8 competition, and they will come up against host Sri Lanka in the other semi-final, which will be contested on Thursday. The West Indies women will also be in the semi-final action on Friday against the Australians. This match will precede the men's encounter at the Premadasa Stadium in Colombo. More news after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Acting Police Commissioner Stephen Williams says there are plans being put in place to transform the police caravan to an all-new level. The caravan, which was launched a few weeks ago, saw the introduction of high-speed devices to help police officers in the fight against crime. This time, the Commissioner says the second phase will place focus on communities facing social challenges.
Speaking in Tobago, Commissioner of Police Stephen Williams says it is their intention to work with communities in a direct manner to bring about speedy resolutions to community challenges. He adds that the police service will not be able to do it alone and will be relying on the collective effort of stakeholders and citizens to help point the way forward.
And to ensure ultimately that we reach the point where we can have the kind of safe and secure environment across the Twin Island state, Trinidad and Tobago. We are pressing on by finding innovative ways of addressing crime and crime problems across Trinidad and Tobago. The police caravan is just one medium that we will be using.
He says as it relates to Tobago, policing requires its own dynamic and approach to crime solving, especially since Tobago is the main tourist hub.
It is in that context we have engaged within recent times with the leadership of the police service in Tobago to think about how we can bring our collective wisdom to bear on key improvements around policing in Tobago.
The Commissioner says it is regrettable that 2012 has not been a good year in the context of policing in Tobago, since crime has been on the increase in Tobago compared to that of 2011.
It's not something to be proud of, but it's something which places that ultimate challenge on us to find ways and means of turning things around to ensure that Tobago realize the kind of improvements that is necessary for such a special island in the Twin Island state of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to assure the people of Tobago that we will continue to engage in a continuous process of working closely with communities to bring resolution to the problems that each community will face.
It is with this in mind that the caravan has been presented and other police initiative will be implemented in Tobago. The acting commissioner says he is committed to having a citizen-centered police service dedicated to reducing crime and victimization and increasing safety in communities and roadways, as well as using technology to generate responsive, caring, competent, and respectful officers. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
Following the outstanding success of Jubilee 1 on September 16th, the Anglican Church staged Jubilee 2, a second grand variety concert at St. Paul's Anglican Church, Harris Promenade, San Fernando. The church came alive with an action-packed program of music, song, dance, and drama.
The second Jubilee concert, entitled Joy, reflects the church's delight and to acknowledge the wealth and talent within the community. Although a small fee was charged, the primary purpose is not fundraising, but involvement in the national celebrations.
We are very proud of our nation. We are very happy to have the privilege of making a contribution to national development over many years. And by these acts, we recommit ourselves to such action, to continue to strive diligently to work with all stakeholders for the common and national good.
Anglican Bishop Reverend Claude Berkeley says the church will be involved in many fundraisers over the next few years, and to this end will also be seeking the support of its members and the national community, especially corporate bodies. The profits realized will go to the Hayes Court Restoration Fund, the official residence of the Anglican bishop, which needs major restoration work.
3 concerts, one in the north, one in the south, the other in Tobago. As well, a day of national Thanksgiving, and that was on Republic Day. I would like to thank those of you who were present for the very solid show of support and the commitment in spite of the Good Friday nature of the service, as someone said.
Reverend Berkeley says there will also be another concert in Tobago, and the list of performers will be different for all 3 concerts.
So after Good, we will have a better concert here, and I'm sorry to say that the best concert then will be in Tobago, but we will see how that one works out.
The patrons were treated to performances from the Police Band, Calypsonians, Black Stalin, Short Pants, and Heather McIntosh, the Bishop Anstey High School Choir, and the Bishop Anstey Trinity College East Steel Orchestra, the Lydians Male Quartet, Raymond Edwards, Mavis John, and many others. Bishop Berkeley has indicated that during the period of September to December, all Anglican institutions, schools, churches, groups like Mothers Union, Men's Society, and the youth will perform acts of earth-caring and or people-loving service as a gift to the nation. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you so much for joining us.